Hello and welcome to Compass. I'm Kumi Taguchi. You're about to meet Husna Pasha, an Australian Indian Dynamo with a burning desire to become Australia's first Indian talk show host. Think Ellen, but Aussie with a twist. Compass follows Husna as she puts on her own talk show, bringing people together and empowering them through laughter and entertainment with a difference.
Okay, those letters are huge, but they're fantastic. My dream to be a talk show host has got so much more purpose, I think, than people actually think. In fact, a lot of people must think it's got to do with fame and becoming a celebrity or a star. That's probably about this much of it.
She's more or less producing and directing her own show, which is an enormous amount of work, and it takes guts.
I have so much to gain and so much more to lose. I feel that what if people don't turn up? What if people don't like my message? My mission behind my show is actually to bridge the gap between humans by creating happier people. Because I truly believe that happy humans don't care about the colour of your skin or what religion you follow or don't follow.
Well, maybe she will be the Indian Ellen or Indian Oprah.
Husna Pasha lives with her husband and 2 children in a quiet Melbourne suburb. Today, her family are here to catch up with old friends.
What time's Dad coming?
12:30. All right. Awesome. Hi, darling.
Husna may not look nervous now, but in 24 hours, she's putting on a talk show in front of a live audience.
Did you make this, did you?
Well, I'm not going to lie, Uncle. Yes.
Yeah, I made it, yeah.
I'm forever rehearsing my show in front of my family and friends. People will know it's all comedy, right? And they know that I'm basically joking. Saying Pauline Hanson called me a couple of days ago. She was really nice to me. You know, congratulations on being the first Indian talk show host. I'm not sure if it's the smartest move to ask your friends and your family, especially the night before the show, what they think about your jokes. But, you know, she was insistent that I have to play an anthem, right, for the show and blah, blah, blah. So I get everyone to stand up, and they'll all be shocked because I'm like, what the hell is she doing? And then I actually play Black or White by Michael Jackson.
Ah. Nice.
I love social inappropriateness. I've never been overly offended. I don't really get offended by the brown jokes or taking the punt at an Indian. I'm probably the first person that will have a crack.
You're making fun of the national anthem, you know. You should respect that. Whether it'll come out as just being funny or will somebody take offence at that, you know.
When you're in Australia, national anthem is like national anthem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But I don't think you are being disrespectful. I think you are trying to show a different perspective and you're trying to make people laugh and think about something.
Most of the people in this room have known Husna since she was a child.
I am Indian, born in India, raised in a very beautiful place called Tasmania.
Husna's parents migrated from Bangalore in 1974.
Of course, you know, this was the land of opportunity back in the 70s, and Dad being a doctor, Australia was desperate for doctors back in those days.
We got a job straight away. We applied and we went for an interview, and then we thought, oh gosh, Australia is so far away. The only thing I know about Australia is kangaroos, so, you know, I don't know a lot about it.
The Pasha family settled in New Norfolk, a small town half an hour from Hobart.
We were literally the only brown people in the district. I was called names like Abbo and Chock Wedge and Licorice Legs. That stuff actually never bothered me. What used to bother me if they said I was ugly or I was fat or whatever it may be.
When Husna was 11, the Pasha family moved to Hobart. As Muslims, they were welcomed by a small community of families from different faiths.
There was something about her and we just started hanging out, and then the next thing we were best buddies. I'm actually Hindu. Yeah, my family are Hindu, so that was interesting growing up. We were all just one. In fact, it was like the Pakistanis, the Sri Lankans, the Indians, like everyone was together.
And then we all would get together and celebrate all the feasts, not just Ramadan. We would do Christmas, we would do Diwali for what the Hindus did. So we were just one big family. And it got us through because suddenly that loneliness was gone.
Come on, everybody.
These days, they still get together whenever they can. Rashida and Osman Khan had moved to Hobart in the 80s with their two small sons, Zahir and Ziad.
I came from South Africa, so apartheid was the law. Now for us, Hobart was freedom.
That's nice.
With no religious education available for their boys, they started running classes from home for the Muslim children in the community.
We needed to teach them about who they are and the religion, basically, because the religion was important to us.
Husna was still at primary school when Rashida started teaching her to read from the holy book for Muslims, the Quran, in a language she didn't know.
It's a big, thick book. I don't know whether you've actually seen the Quran. It's like 30 chapters, and it's all in Arabic. And you got to remember, we don't speak Arabic.
I still remember reading that last line of the Quran with her, and we just looked at each other and went, wow, that's amazing.
Well, I'm thinking of Desmond Tutu and the way
If you haven't heard her, tell her to do Desmond Tutu. Have you heard her? Oh, you've got to get her to do it. She is so good.
We do it for overtime. I'll try and remember it. Okay. The only way we can survive in South Africa is together. Black and white. The only way we can even be free is together. Black and white. As we lock to each other, manacled by the common humanity, we strive up, up, up.
Oh, fantastic. Well done, Husna. Well done. Good on you.
Well done, Huzi.
That's it.
Husna has been making people laugh all her life. 3 years ago, a friend saw an opportunity to co-host Channel 10's panel show, The Project.
This is The Project.
She said, Hus, there is an opportunity of a lifetime here, but the application's closed tonight.
Now, not in an hour, not in 2 hours. Get on the phone now. Put together a promo.
So I said, you kidding me? I've got no makeup on. I practically look green. Hi, my name is Husna Pasha, and I would be honoured to be on The Project.
She was all dishevelled, and it was the end of the day.
I look terrible right now. This is not how I normally present. This is not how I look. This is a facade. This is a facade. But I think that would be amazing. I've got an education in occupational therapy and have views on practically anything that you give me a topic to discuss. So I actually think that I would be great on the show. Hughesy, I'm coming at ya. See you soon.
And say hello to our next Your Chair winner, Husna Pasha.
She saw them sooner than she thought. The very next week, Husna was in the studio, co-hosting The Project.
And please welcome our final Your Chair contestant for the week, Husna Pasha from Victoria.
You picked Husna, didn't you?
We did indeed. We scoured Melbourne for the best and the brightest, and we found exactly that in Husna. So we're rapt to have you here tonight, Husna.
So tell us about yourself. You're a mum of two.
And there's my lovely husband. Oh, look at him. Isn't he gorgeous? Don't be jealous, viewers. Don't be jealous.
Now, I want you to tell us all about the last time you were doing something. You were doing public speaking, and you just got the wrong end of what you were meant to be doing, and it all just went bad.
Look, it definitely went pear-shaped. So I was 15 years old. I was representing my high school in public speaking. I did a great first speech. Then we had an impromptu, and they said, look, we want you to talk about euthanasia. And we're going to give you a couple of minutes. Husna, you're first up. So I came out, I was feeling really confident, and I said, OK, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We want to now discuss the youth in Asia. And I decided to talk about the youth of China, Hong Kong, and Korea. All of a sudden I saw my mum in the audience going, stop talking! Don't talk anymore! Stop talking! Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. I always wanted to do something in this talk show space, and a lot of people said, to me, why didn't you do this when you were in your 20s, when you had all the time in the world? Well, I didn't have enough wisdom in my 20s.
When Husna was 20, she was going to university in Sydney. It was around this time she made a choice that would profoundly affect her life.
I always asked God that I marry an Indian Muslim. I didn't specify anything else, however. I just specified Indian Muslim. Certain prerequisites I had to abide by.
On a uni break in Hobart, she met a young Indian Muslim man at her parents' house.
You can only imagine what I was thinking about getting the tick of approval from my parents. This is everything they would be looking for. They'll be so proud.
I recall receiving a call from Husna saying, guess what, I'm getting married. And I said, who to?
It just all happened so quickly.
I shouldn't be saying this, but I was not keen at all. But they were a nice family, nothing bad to say about them. But we are different, very different.
I think we all kind of got our wires crossed. I believe that this is what they wanted for me. They believed I wanted to do this, but it wasn't the case at all. And I think that we just missed communication.
I was in the car on the way to the wedding with her and she was crying. She was crying and crying and crying.
And I think every Indian woman said, oh, the bride, she's so excited to finally be married. And I remember looking around the room and saying to myself, what have you done? I think I've just ruined my life. He was a really nice guy. He was a really good person. But they were very religious in a way that I truly respect, but it wasn't the way I was brought up. And it wasn't the way I was taught Islam, and it wasn't the way I knew how to resonate with God. And so the differences started pretty quickly. So all of a sudden, if something is a simple top, just a normal day-to-day top, you know, was, oh, it needs to be a little bit looser. You can't wear clothes like that. Or I wasn't used to being the sort of woman that had to leave the room because men were coming into the room. And I wasn't used to the segregation. I wasn't used to that at all. And it started to become really apparent when I started losing a lot of weight and I stopped eating.
When she came to Hobart, she had lost a lot of weight. And I was really so worried when I saw her. And I thought, things are not really right.
I didn't realise that I had now started suffering a very severe eating disorder until a friend of mine said, you've lost a lot of weight.
It was something that bothered me day and night for a very long time. And I was really unsure as to how to get her to admit that there was a problem in her marriage.
I was so scared to bring shame on my parents. There'd been nobody in our family that had ever been divorced. And here I'm 21 years old. All I could think of was, I can't possibly do this to my family. So it was my father, actually, that said to me, where's my little girl gone? Where's that bouncy, bubbly girl?
I said, whatever decision you take, it's acceptable. And it was her decision, whatever it was. It was not an easy time.
I think what eats me up about what happened is they were amazing people. They were such nice people, such good people.
With the support of her family, Husna left the marriage and started a new life.
5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, ha.
I have been learning how to hip-hop dance. So I'm going to come out on stage and break out in some hip-hop moves. I wanted to create this talk show so badly for so many reasons. I thought, you know, especially Muslims in the world today and female Muslims, people don't resonate with someone like me as being a Muslim, actually. And funnily enough, I'm very spiritual and very religious. And I was desperately wanting to somehow get a message across that, hey, Muzzy chicks like me can actually do really cool things. In fact, most Indian girls, and Indian girls will hate me for saying this, they want to be the next Bollywood star. And I actually think I could inspire people, that even girls like me who aren't all about beauty and this, that and the other, actually can make things happen. And if I can do it, anyone can do it.
When Husna was 21, she was just divorced and still recovering from anorexia.
All of this has happened and I am officially free. Before it, I wasn't comfortable with who I was. And after it, with an eating disorder and even with depression, I knew exactly who I was.
One night, Husna and Aparna went out dancing.
I was dancing away and then she comes up to me and she goes, Aparna, there's this guy speaking to me, I think he might be weird. And I was like, let me talk to him. And I just looked at him and he was wearing the coolest shades ever.
When I first met Nick, he had really long hair, he had rose-coloured glasses on that he wore permanently because he thought it was cool. He had a tattoo and he had earrings. And I thought, how do we introduce him to my Indian parents?
I was a bit shocked, of course. But then again, there seems to be a sense of mutuality between them, you know. And he presented himself as a nice boy and he was polite and sort of conducive.
The first date, official first date.
At his family's place. And I will never forget it. I've never experienced the sort of smile that I had that day. And I couldn't stop smiling all day.
Nick was from Mauritius and not Muslim. When it was clear this relationship was serious, the subject of children came up.
And I said to Nick, if we were ever to take this to the next place, I would really want to raise the children Muslim. And how do you feel about that?
When they were married and Husna became pregnant, Nick converted to Islam. And on the final day of fasting for Ramadan, known as Eid, their daughter Aliyah arrived.
I did the Ramadan, I did the whole month of fasting and I got rewarded. She was born on Eid day, so I think that was a sign for me. And I'm still yet into that path. I'm not claiming to be the most pious man, but I am in the righteous path.
I prayed and I prayed and I prayed for someone just like him. I kind of got the whole package, really. So I'm reading the Quran now in English, and this has actually helped me. Who needs a self-help book when you can kind of just read this, really? You know, once upon a time, religion seemed to be a lot about fear of God. You know, don't do this as this will happen, and don't do that as that will happen. And then I sort of started to reconnect over the last couple of years with some amazing people in my community. I guess once upon a time, I was even quite critical, and that's because of my lack of knowledge. You know, even with girls with scarves, as an example, I made this assumption that a girl with a scarf was overly conservative and she was way more religious than I was, and you know, there were certain things she couldn't do in public, and now I'm with a humongous community of incredible women, you know, scarved and unscarved, but now I have so much respect for how they carry themselves. There's no difference between them and me at all. I feel like I fit right on in. I feel so supported. There's equality going on that's making me feel really strong. It inspires me to do what I do every day.
It's the morning of Husna's live talk show. After 6 months of planning, it's all hands on deck.
I'm going to rock up at the theatre at 9 a.m. with hubby, and we are going to dress the foyer, we're going to dress outside, we're going to dress the theatre and the actual stage. We've got light letters turning up at 10. I'm coordinating that. No. Can you, like, sit back properly, like, sit like that? Like, then at some point I have to do sound check with my sound guy, the band that turns up at 2 o'clock. So I'm practically busy from 9 a.m. onwards, and then I have to at some point remember, oh, I'm also the host.
It's work. It is. And so I sort of say good on her, because many of us who think living our dreams, we complain about it, but we don't actually go and do it, and she's doing it.
I'm actually someone that can get very nervous. I might not present that way and I might look like a bundle of confidence. My heart is pounding on my chest like a gorilla and nobody would know it. I'm just trying to stay positive. You know, you're so close to it being okay, that you just fear that any little glitch could just ruin the show. So I'll just kind of ride through that wave and breathe. You might take one person with you. It's 4:30. I know.
With half an hour before the show starts, Husna has no idea if there's an audience.
The foyer was full, so...
The foyer's full, so it could be that we have... How many people do you think are here?
I reckon the bottom section will be full.
Full?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Introducing Superwoods onto the stage.
My biggest fear about the show is walking up on that stage and everything that I have rehearsed just decides to leave my mind. And the lights are directly in my eyes and I can barely see out. My whole point is I need to be able to engage with the audience. I'm only on the show dancing hip-hop for about 15 seconds and I have rehearsed those moves every day, 10 times a day, to the point where I have had asthma attacks on a daily basis, just trying to get through it. That's the fun of it. Okay, so before we actually start the show properly, I got a call the other day from Pauline Hanson. And look, before I go on, I just want to say she was really nice. She said, you know, bring it home like the Aussies, you know, come home with the Australian way and put an anthem on. For God's sakes, put on an anthem. Can everyone just sort of stand up? We'll do the anthem.
Okay, I'm going to play the anthem.
Wrong anthem, wrong anthem. I have some incredible guests on this show that resonate with the day-to-day Australian.
I don't know if I'll be walking with a stick tonight. I'll wait and see how I feel.
Let's welcome to the stage Mr. Ben Petty.
I'll probably walk out with it, but I mightn't use it for the whole entirety of the show. But we'll just see how the night rolls.
Can I say nice to see you, or that's...
No.
No, can't say that sort of
No,
stuff.
you can say that to me.
No, like you don't.
Yeah, so overnight, when I was 16 years old, I lost 98% of my eyesight, and it was to a rare genetic syndrome called Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. So that was, life-changing. I have no idea what she's going to talk to me about, actually, but it's going to be a bit of a surprise.
Actually, can we bring along Ben's girlfriend, Amy Savage? How are you, darling?
How you doing?
Yeah, right. Yeah, he couldn't see that coming. Yeah. So, how did you then decide that Ben was the one for you?
I've never answered that question before, actually, but...
I was going to say I'm interested.
It can be over before it begins.
Yeah, when I met Ben, it was...
Normally I prefer to be in the background, but she's convinced me otherwise.
I was going through a really tough time when I met Ben, and I had been for a long time. Yeah. And knowing the way that he made me feel instantly, it became so clear to me that I had to get rid of everything that I was going through and had to get rid of it for good.
Wow.
Because if I didn't get rid of it, I didn't have room for Ben in my life. And so that was, yeah, it was really
cool to
strong.
share that on stage.
I've never said that before, oh my God.
Wow. This show is all about unheard stories. I don't really care too much about Kim Kardashian. I love the stories about people we don't get to hear about every day. I want to make people feel good. And I have felt that since a little kid. That is my purpose.
Let's do it more Indian style.
To help with the Indian jokes, Husna has brought along her old Hobart friends.
I've always been told, Hus, we need more of your comedy. I want to be a little bit socially inappropriate. I want to go there with my brown and my Indian jokes. I want to have a laugh at my mother. But, you know, in today's political climate, especially being a Muslim, I'm not convinced the timing's right. I'm second-guessing myself.
How did you find it, my king? My king!
Am I going to do the punchline and everyone's going to stand up and just walk the hell out of there, or are they going to be laughing with me?
Hello, Ahmed taxi service.
Please, doctor!
Doctor, I'm on the doctor.
I want my audience to walk away feeling happy, inspired, empowered, comfortable and pumped to come to my next show.
It's a celebration.
I want to look back on my life one day and I want to say to myself, I really wanted to be a talk show host and change the world and just to inspire other people, just to do what you want to do. It doesn't matter if you fail. But look back on your life one day and said, I did it. And you got one chance at life, right?
I'm Husna Pasha. Thank you.
Next time on Compass.
Life changed probably in my teenage years. I didn't know where I fitted in, so I tried drugs, basically. I need to be slowly reintegrated back into society. What keeps me clean it would be staying focused on where I want to go.
I think kind of it's about a sense of belonging, community, finding a place where there's forgiveness and friendship. I think that everybody deserves that opportunity to have a place where they feel that they have a purpose and that there isn't the judgment about their previous life.
Seeds of Change. Next time on Compass.